Sometimes something happens on live television that stops time. It doesn't just grab attention, it holds the world still. One moment you're watching a game show, laughing with the crowd, and the next you realize you're witnessing something you'll never forget. It began like any other Friday in Atlanta. Bright lights. Steve Harvey in his sharp navy suit, that famous grin lighting up the Family Feud stage. 2 families, 2 podiums. One dream of walking out with $20,000. Routine. Predictable. Until it wasn't. Nobody could have predicted that this particular episode, this simple matchup between the Carter family from Atlanta and the Rodriguez family from Miami, would turn into something far greater than a contest. That somewhere between the laughter and the questions, the game would fade and humanity itself would take center stage. The energy that afternoon was electric. The audience clapped to the beat of the Family Feud theme, lights pulsing overhead. Steve walked across the stage like he'd done 1,000 times before, confident, commanding, born for this. He greeted each contestant with that effortless charm, but when his eyes landed on one boy at the end of the Carter podium, something in him hesitated. The kid wasn't like the others, 17 years old, tall, shoulders tense, a gray hoodie beneath his game shirt. While his family laughed and waved, Isaiah Carter just stood still, eyes sharp but distant, like he was seeing something beyond the stage. Steve noticed right away. He always noticed the quiet ones. He stepped closer, holding the microphone like a friend about to start a conversation. "And who's this young man?" he asked. "I'm Isaiah, sir," the boy said softly. "Isaiah," Steve repeated with a smile. "Now that's a strong name. You ready to play today?" "Yes, sir," Isaiah said. "For my grandmother." The crowd applauded, but Steve's expression flickered for a moment. There was weight behind those words, the kind of weight you feel but can't explain. "She here with us today?" Isaiah's jaw tightened. "No, sir. But she's watching." The moment lingered, quiet but meaningful. Then the show rolled on, because it had to. Television doesn't stop for feelings. The next 3 rounds went as usual. The families laughed, buzzed in, celebrated. The score bounced back and forth. Steve cracked jokes, making faces that had the audience roaring. Everything felt light again, until the 4th round. "Name something people do when they're nervous." Steve read from his card. Isaiah's sister, Kesha, buzzed in first. "Bite their nails!" Number 3 answer. The Carters decided to play. They scored a few more points, but struck out after 3 wrong answers. The Rodriguez family tried to steal, but couldn't find the top one. The board lit up for the Carters. They'd taken the round. Now it came down to the final moment. Fast money. The last chance. 1 player. 20 seconds. Everything on the line. Marcus, Isaiah's father, placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "He's been waiting for this all day," he said proudly. Isaiah walked to the center podium. Under the blazing studio lights, his face looked calm, but his hands gripped the edge so hard his knuckles turned white. Steve could feel something brewing beneath the surface. This wasn't just nerves. It was something else, and something lived. "You ready, young man?" Steve asked quietly. "Yes, sir," Isaiah whispered. "All right," Steve said, raising the card. 20 seconds on the clock. "Let's go." The countdown began. The music hit. Name something people do when they're happy. Dance. Good. Name. Something you might find in a teenager's bedroom. Clothes. Name. Something that makes noise. Music. Name. Something people save money for. Isaiah hesitated. For the first time, the rhythm broke. His eyes dropped, and when he spoke, his voice had changed. "Family," Steve blinked. It was unusual. He'd heard 1,000 answers, cars, vacations, weddings, but never family. There was a story there. He just didn't know it yet. "Okay," Steve said softly. "Last question. Name something that makes life worth living." The studio went still, the kind of stillness that hums in your chest. Isaiah didn't answer right away. He just looked at Steve, or really looked at him, and you could almost see the war behind his eyes. When he finally spoke, his voice cracked, but his words were like lightning splitting the silence. "Being with the people you love, while you still can." The audience didn't clap. Nobody moved. The cameras kept rolling, but for once, even television seemed to bow to the truth of that sentence. Steve's smile fell away. He lowered the card. He wasn't looking at a contestant anymore. He was looking at a soul speaking from the edge of something too real for entertainment. He stepped closer, Son, he said quietly, the microphone trembling just slightly in his hand. That's not just an answer. That's something you lived. Talk to me, Isaiah swallowed hard. His voice was barely above a whisper. My mom passed away 6 months ago. Stage 4 cancer. They gave her 3 months. She made it to 8. People gasped softly in the audience. Steve didn't move. He just listened. She wanted to see me graduate, Isaiah continued. She did. Oxygen tank and all. She sat in her wheelchair in the front row. 2 weeks later, she was gone. The studio lights reflected off tears in Isaiah's eyes. You could hear people sniffing in the crowd. His father's head bowed. His mother clutched her hands together like she was praying. And before she died, Isaiah said, she told me to take care of my grandmother because she raised me when Mom got sick. My grandma's 70, works 2 jobs, cleans houses by day, stocks shelves by night, all so I could have a chance. His voice faltered, but 3 weeks ago she collapsed. Heart failure. She's in the hospital right now. A collective gasp. The doctors say she needs surgery we can't afford, but she told me to come here. Said, don't you miss your shot because of me, so I came. Because she taught me, when life gives you a moment to show what you're made of, you take it. Even when you're breaking inside. Steve's face crumpled. He turned away, blinking fast, but the tears came anyway. He wasn't the host now. He was a man who'd just been reminded what mattered. Isaiah looked straight into the camera. She's watching right now. From her hospital bed, Grandma, if you're seeing this, everything I am is because of you. The silence that followed was holy. Then suddenly Steve moved. He turned from the podium and walked straight off the stage. Microphone still live. His voice echoed through the studio. Get Isaiah's grandmother on the phone. Right now. I don't care what it takes. Find her! The audience erupted in applause, but the moment was far from over. When Steve returned, he carried a phone. He didn't just hold it. He carried it like something sacred. He sat beside Isaiah and put it on speaker. Mrs. Carter, he said gently. This is Steve Harvey. I'm here with your grandson. He just told me what you've done for him. A faint, trembling voice answered through the loudspeakers. Yes, Mr. Harvey. I'm here. Isaiah's face crumpled. Grandma, he whispered. I'm on the show. I made it. My baby, she said, crying softly. I'm so proud of you. I love you, Isaiah said through tears. I love you more than life itself, she replied. Steve pressed the phone close. His voice shook now. Mrs. Carter, your grandson just taught this entire room what love looks like. And I want you to know something. My foundation is setting up a scholarship in your name, the Gloria Carter Scholarship. We're going to make sure Isaiah gets to college. And one more thing. We're covering every cost for your surgery. You're going to see him graduate. There was a pause, then a sob through the phone, followed by the loudest standing ovation Family Feud had ever heard. Isaiah covered his face. His father held him. The Rodriguez family and their competitors were crying too. Camera operators, crew members, even the producers. It wasn't a show anymore. It was a miracle caught on tape. Steve removed his navy jacket and draped it over Isaiah's shoulders. This has been with me for every show, he said. But it belongs to you now, because you just reminded all of us what really matters. When the cameras finally cut, something else happened that no one saw. Steve met privately with Isaiah's parents. He didn't just keep his promise, he went further. He arranged for Gloria Carter to be moved to one of the best cardiac hospitals in the country, paid every bill himself, quietly, without fanfare. Gloria lived 4 more years. 4 years of holidays, graduations, Sunday dinners. 4 years that never would have happened without that single moment when a teenager spoke his truth into a microphone. Isaiah grew up just like she always wanted. He went to Morehouse College studying medicine. The boy who once said family on national television, now trying to save other families for a living. He still has Steve's jacket, keeps it hanging in his dorm room. And every year on the anniversary of that taping, he texts Steve, still living, still loving, still remembering that day you showed me what it means to show up. The episode went viral, but not for the reasons most viral things do. It wasn't about drama or money. It was about a moment of truth that cut through all the noise. And to this day, Steve Harvey says that episode changed him. I've made people laugh for 40 years, he told an interviewer later. But that boy, That boy taught me something better. Sometimes the best thing you can do isn't to talk, it's to listen. Because wisdom doesn't always come from age. Sometimes it comes from pain. The answer that broke Steve Harvey never appeared on the board, but it was the only one that mattered. Being with the people you love while you still can, that's not just what makes life worth living. That's what life is. And if you've ever forgotten that, if you've ever needed a reminder of what really matters, let this story be that for you. Because sometimes the most unforgettable moments aren't scripted, rehearsed, or planned. They're real. They're human. They're the ones that make you stop, feel, and remember that love, even in its quietest form, can change everything. So if this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Share it, remember it. Because somewhere someone might need to hear Isaiah's answer today before it's too late.